The shift in the atmosphere. For years, whispers floated quietly behind velvet ropes and tinted SUVs. But insiders say something changed around the late 2010s. People who once spoke carefully began speaking cautiously. Former associates described a tightening tension, like the empire was reacting to a threat only those inside could feel. Invitations became rarer, travel plans stricter, entourages smaller. To outsiders, this looked like evolution. To some who'd been close, it looked like preparation, as if the spotlight had become too bright and shadows were shrinking. Patterns long ignored began resurfacing in conversations, and the tone was different now. Less gossip, more concern, more consistency, and the sense that the past wasn't staying in the past anymore. The first cracks become conversations. Insiders say the earliest cracks didn't come from headlines, they came from people quietly stepping back. Not a dramatic storm of exits, but a subtle drift. Security team rotations, longtime staff suddenly replaced, collaborators becoming too busy. People noticed the pattern. Those who disappeared didn't speak publicly, but they also didn't return. Industry veterans claim these shifts hinted at pressure, the kind that doesn't come from creative disagreements. It felt like something behind the curtain was unraveling, and those closest felt it first. Every empire changes, but some changes feel like signals. The public smile, the private storm. On camera, Puff remained Puff, charismatic, polished, unstoppable. But insiders claim the energy behind the scenes felt different. Meetings grew tenser, reactions sharper. The charm was still there, but some say it didn't turn off as smoothly. Former employees described walking on eggshells, unsure which version of the boss they were walking into. When public confidence rises while private temperament shifts, people notice, especially those paid to watch closely. The duality wasn't new, but the intensity was. The quiet distance of celebrities. Some observers noticed big names who once appeared frequently at events gradually fading from the frame. No statements, no drama, just distance. In Hollywood, distancing is a language. People don't announce discomfort, they simply stop showing up. Former associates claimed certain A-listers declined invites more often, choosing scheduling conflicts over appearances. Whether coincidence or choice, the pattern raised questions among those watching from the sidelines. The lawsuits that sparked headlines. When early legal allegations surfaced, they didn't erupt, they trickled. Accusations framed as civil disputes, claims that insiders said had been whispered privately for years. Nothing proven, but everything amplified. And suddenly, what once lived in the shadows became public record. The industry reacted with caution, the kind that signals uncertainty. People weren't sure what was true, what was exaggerated, or what was still untold. But they knew one thing. This time, the whispers were no longer staying quiet. The digital age changes everything. In the 2000s, rumors died in VIP rooms. In the 2020s, they live forever on social media. Stories that once needed proof began gaining traction off repetition alone. Former employees, ex-collaborators, old acquaintances, voices once silent now found audiences. Whether credible or not, online narratives spread without waiting for confirmation. For a figure as public as Puff, this shift was seismic. Privacy was becoming impossible, and silence no longer guaranteed safety. Former associates began speaking indirectly. Some people who once stood close to him started answering questions with hesitation, measured, vague answers. Interviews where names weren't mentioned but implications lingered. Social posts that suggested past experiences without revealing details. Nothing direct, nothing actionable, but the tone changed from loyalty to distance. Insiders said these subtle shifts were more meaningful than statements. The pattern of no comment. Media outlets began asking questions, and increasingly the answer from those connected was the same: no comment. In Hollywood, no comment can mean anything, but when said repeatedly, it means something. Silence becomes its own message, especially when spoken by people who once praised loudly. Industry gatekeepers take notice. Executives, managers, producers, many began quietly reassessing their distance, not because anything had been proven, but because the industry fears risk more than guilt. And a narrative gaining momentum becomes a liability. Deals slow, partnerships pause, people wait to see which direction the wind is blowing. The storm breaks into headlines. As more civil filings arose, the story shifted from rumor to news cycle. Networks discussed it, podcasts dissected it, YouTubers built timelines. The public attention increased pressure. Even if nothing was decided legally, the cultural conversation shifted dramatically. Questions replaced assumptions, doubt replaced admiration. The empire wasn't collapsing, but it was shaking. The raids heard around the world. When federal agents executed high-profile raids, the world noticed. Insiders say these raids felt like a turning point, not for conclusions, but for perception. Federal involvement, regardless of outcome, signals seriousness. The footage replayed everywhere. And suddenly, the whispers had visuals. No charges at the time, but the optics were enough to change public sentiment instantly. The brand begins to fracture. Companies distancing themselves, partnerships reconsidered, events canceled. The brand that once symbolized power now carried weight people didn't want to hold. Not guilt, risk. And in entertainment, risk is expensive. The empire stood, but the foundation visibly trembled. Former friends moved cautiously. Some who once stood proudly beside Puff now moved quietly, intentionally. No one condemned, no one defended, just space. In Hollywood, space speaks louder than statements. It suggests uncertainty, waiting to see how things unfold. A legacy under review. People began re-examining old interviews, clips, lyrics, business deals, searching for signs they missed. Once seen as ambition now looked like control. Once seen as charisma now read differently. Legacy is fragile. One moment can shift decades of perception. The unfinished ending. This story doesn't end with conclusions, no verdicts, no final chapter, just an ongoing investigation, unresolved allegations, and a legacy caught between admiration and scrutiny. Some say the truth will emerge. Others believe it already has, in whispers, patterns, and silence. What happens next depends not on the past alone, but on the voices willing or unwilling to speak.